Hi everyone, Joy here, and today I would like to make a video about a topic that a lot of people have already made videos about, so I'm going to try to not repeat what other people have already said, and I'm just going to tell you to go search on YouTube for the other videos about this topic, because most of those are really good. I've seen them, they're from other LGBT plus creators, but I do need to be brief just to cover the main points before giving you my own thoughts. So I'm talking about singular they. Now singular they is grammatically correct. Singular they is already in use and has been for centuries. Now, some people might not know, like the speaker doesn't necessarily have to know somebody's gender, or doesn't know, or when a singular subject refers to a plural amount of people, like everybody or everyone, eventually the pronoun they is going to get thrown in there. You don't have to restrict to he/she. So let's look at some of the objections to singular they. It's confusing, potentially. For example, somebody might think you're talking about multiple people. Well, it might seem confusing now, but with a little practice, it should feel normal, especially if people use it more often. It's no less similar to other pronouns being confusing. For example, I'll give you a sentence: she gave her the book and then she went home. Which she are you talking about? Same amount of ambiguity in that sentence from any other example that you can think of using singular they. So it's not more confusing. How about they should be plural only? Well, this argument comes from linguistic purists who really love the English language, and I can't blame them for loving the English language, but these arguments I haven't seen any arguments followed with the desire to reinstate thou as commonplace use for singular second person pronouns. So now we have the word you as second person plural and singular, and the trend seems to be replacing that they could follow the same trend in replacing thou. So they could replace he and she. It's not incorrect, it's just how language evolves. Also, like you, they brings the verb form with it. So you say they have, not they has. And this could be a bonus. I think it could be a bonus because we might be able to drop that annoying little s off of the end of verbs, which serves no purpose because we already have pronouns to do that for us. So another thing I've come across, if you don't use the word he or she, then you must use the word it. Now this particular argument does not come from linguistic purists. It comes from really awful, spiteful people who say it in a very derogatory way. And I've seen it written, and I've heard it said to me, and it's deliberate, demeaning, dehumanizing, degrading. It's not about linguistic purity at all. This particular argument is just a way to try and rub someone the wrong way. So it's not even valid as an objection. Some people talk about policing of language. You can't police my language. You can't tell me what I can say or what I can't say. Well, I would prefer that you respect people. And I would refer them to my previous evolution in language argument, and also the other previous arguments that I've made. And this is particularly offensive because it denies somebody a very simple wish. If somebody wants to go by they pronouns, why would you want to go out of your way to make that person super uncomfortable? It says more about, the character of the person making that objection than it does about the person who wishes to use the they pronouns in the singular. Okay, now how about some advantages for use? Well, when talking about someone unknown, they avoids assumptions. It used to be the case that he was the default, but that's obviously sexist. So using gender-neutral pronouns bypasses that problem entirely. For when you don't know somebody's gender, whether it be somebody that you don't know, or whether it be somebody that you have met but only briefly, and you don't know how they identify. Let's talk about the phrase he or she. He or she is long-winded, especially if it's repeated in speech and in writing, and it ignores the non-binary. They is inclusive of everyone. They is also more naturalistic to use than constructed pronouns like Z, she, here, and a whole bunch of others that I have researched and looked up. Now, while I'm not totally against the use of these pronouns, language evolves different parts of speech at different rates. So, for example, new nouns and verbs are absorbed very easily, but pronouns and articles change much, much more slowly. It would be easier to facilitate the use of a singular they rather than introducing a whole new pronoun or pronoun set. The other real good benefit with they is that it's not offensive to anyone because it's impossible to misgender someone if you're using an epicene pronoun. So, or even, language in itself. For example, the one I like to use is chairperson as opposed to chairman or chairwoman. So, my reason for bringing up this topic is to go one step further and to say that not just for gender-neutral people or gender non-binary people, I think it would actually be beneficial to use, and I herefore advocate, the use of they in all examples. So, for males, females, trans people, cis people, non-binary, whatever. Because you literally can't go wrong because it doesn't make assumptions. Now, if somebody were to come to me specifically and say, look, I'm not happy with you using they for me, can you stick to he or stick to she? I will absolutely 100% support that. I'd be a massive hypocrite if I didn't. But I would refer them to this video and I would refer them to the they pros and cons. And I would ask them to think about that. And if they still don't feel like doing that, then I will respect their wishes. But I feel like it would be beneficial if we didn't have this gendering in language in the first place, because it is arbitrary. Now, the other thing I recognise is that society will drag its heels. So, therefore, I'm fine if someone calls me she, because it doesn't give me any dysphoria or any negative feelings like that. But I am also very, very okay with the use of they. See you later, people. Ciao for now.